Tickets, please. Once you have subscribed to this channel, please make your way into Screen 1 for all things film and TV from Rebellious Noise. Screenings will include exclusive interviews, fun reviews, and in-depth features, as well as the latest news from the big and small screen. So grab yourself a bag of popcorn, sit back, relax, and enjoy the shows.
Okay, here we go, Lucas. It is Oscars night. So if you're new here, hi, we are Rebellious Noise. I am Scott. I am joined today by Lucas. Say hello, Lucas.
Hello, guys.
And as you can see, obviously, we've got dressed apart. We've got Oscars to talk about. And you might have seen in the intro, grab yourself a bag of popcorn. Well, it's not a bag, but I've definitely got my popcorn ready.
So I've got my nachos over there.
Oh, mate, what you got for the nachos? That's what's key. Are they plain or you got toppings?
I've just got cheese toppings. I'm gonna get some sauce in a bit.
Nice. Now I want nachos. Okay, right. So obviously we're going to be talking about the Oscars. The red carpet is kind of going on. Well, the build up is going on as we speak. Yeah. And yeah, we're just going to run through some predictions. General talk about the Oscars and awards. And you might have seen on our brand new film and TV channel, RN Screen 1. Lucas has been hosting a number of videos over there and recently did a video on the BAFTAs. So after this, please check that out as well, because he's got a lot to say about award ceremonies in 2021. I'm sure. But tonight, obviously, is all about the Oscars. This is our pre-show party, so thank you for joining us. We wanted to give off a bit of a party vibe. Obviously, the Oscars are known for, well, not the Oscars, but the stuff around the Oscars is known for celebration and pomp and circumstance, and yeah, just hype and excitement. I don't know if we're going to have the same impact as Elton John's party.
We're trying.
Exactly, yeah.
His party is notoriously popular.
Yeah, it's hard to top the Rocket Man.
that they follow. The best was when he won for Best Original Song a couple of years ago for Rocket Man, and he went basically straight to his party basically after.
Why would you not? You're right. I've been in Elton John's presence once, actually. Yeah, I don't know if that's a story for this show, but not sure how controversial I want to get just yet. So let's leave it there. That sounds really seedy, but it's not that bad. Don't worry. But yeah, been around Elton John, and I can only imagine what an Elton John party would be like. But like I said, we're going to do the Rebellious Noise party. Once again, we are the RN Screen 1. It's brought to you by Screen 1. Obviously, this is the main Rebellious Noise channel, but we are here kind of a little plug-in about that. Did I just get an Alexa talk? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that.
Alexa, shut up.
She'd always trying to interfere.
All the time. I didn't even say that word, did I?
No, she's off. You know what they're like, these things. But hopefully no one's watching devices.
Oh yeah, true. We'll probably just set theirs off as well. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. Okay, so where do you want to start, mate? Do you want to talk about Oscars in general? Do you want to do a bit of predicting? Where do you want to start?
Let's talk about the ceremony in general. Obviously, at the moment, we do have on the red carpet Best Supporting Actor nominee Paul Serka. He's currently on the red carpet, nominated, of course, for Sound of Metal. But yeah, this ceremony. Obviously, the Oscars are following. They're kind of the end awards following the BAFTAs and the Golden Globes, which took place earlier in the year. And they have been very controversial with this, where they have demanded that everyone attend in person. So they are banning Zoom. Which obviously I think that might be heralded in some households, obviously worldwide.
You think about 2 years ago, hardly anyone knew what Zoom was, and now it's got to the point where the Oscars have banned it.
Yeah, so everyone does have to appear in person. They are using remote venues throughout Los Angeles, as well as a venue in London and a venue in Paris for obviously celebrities who live obviously this side of the pond. You know, the main thing coming out of these awards really has been the diversity quota. Obviously, this year, following on from the BAFTAs and the Golden Globes, there are 2 women nominated for the directing category for the first time ever. there's also a large number of BAME nominees for the acting categories, as we will delve into, very, very soon. It's an interesting one because obviously this follows, obviously, the massive backlash they received a few years ago. For
to put it lightly.
But now we're in the situation where there is obviously so many. There are some rule changes to discuss as well. I'll just say that, at the moment, so this year obviously has been very difficult for the film industry. One of the biggest kind of impacts, really, hasn't it, been affected? I think COVID's impacted it the biggest, really. But obviously it meant that they allowed, for the first time ever, films that only had releases via streaming services. So before, the requirement was that a film had to screen for 2 weeks in cinemas. So if you remember The Irishman, which got nominated last year's awards, it did get a limited cinema release,
in order
2 weeks before it was eligible to be nominated for the Academy Awards it was nominated for. But this year they've allowed, sole streaming. But I think, I touched upon this in my video before, when I said that, surely with everyone basically streaming stuff this year anyway, wasn't that the way to go? I'm guessing everything you've watched last year has been streaming anyway. Yeah,
I mean, pretty much. I think the world's going that way anyway, to be fair. Don't get me wrong, I miss going to the cinema, and there's nothing like it. Like you said in one of the videos recently on Screen One, you can get your surround sound, you can get your big screen, your home projector, which, they're all things that I do have at home and try and recreate a cinema feel, but there's nothing like going to the cinema. So, but at the same time, let's not kid ourselves and pretend that cinemas are where they used to be, So I think even though this year is an unprecedented year where they have to allow streaming things, I think it makes sense going forward. They can't carry on like this. Some films just are not going to go to the cinema simply for, I guess, financial reasons, So, and it would be unfair if they missed out. But I guess at the same time, you've got to keep a certain quota as well. You can't just have any old film, just because it happened to get a spot on Netflix. But, when you come to, the big films, that there are some big films in the past few years that have just been, even pre-pandemic, that have been just for Netflix, for example.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this a little while ago, how they don't feel like films sometimes because they're almost just like one-off TV specials. I don't know if you feel the same way, because everybody talks about it online. It's trending. Have you seen this? And then as soon as you see it, it's done with. Kind of like a TV show, So, so I think streaming is definitely needing a spot at the table, to be fair.
Well, obviously, the this year's top nominated film with 10 nominations was Mank, and that is obviously a Netflix film. 10 nominations, throughout the field. And like we said, Scroll says, obviously, please send us your thoughts and your feelings, obviously, on this, and we will read comments out that are appropriate, of course. But Mank obviously nominated 10 Oscars, nominations, nominated 10 times. The most awards by far of any kind of film that we're talking about is a streaming film. They also allowed drive-in runs as well. Drive-in cinemas became a very big deal in America last year during the pandemic, and even over here as well. They've been
which is great as well,
which is mental,
Yeah.
I think that's phenomenal. And they have announced, due to the environmental impact of this year's award ceremony, with a final year where they send out screener DVDs. These are the copies of the films they send to the Academy members to vote with. They're going to move next year to ironically, a streaming service.
See, they've seen the writing on the wall, Lucas. They know what's going on.
That will be password protected, and the Academy members will have to log in. And there's a lot of talk about that. Because obviously a couple of years ago there was a big thing where a lot of the members admitted they hadn't actually seen a lot of the films that would be nominated. So they're talking about having a thing which has like a watch counter or something. So that it shows that you've actually at least watched it, or I guess at least attempted to watch it.
I mean, the technology is definitely there to show that. There are training courses for certain jobs where they can tell you've gone through the course, So, I mean, surely the minimum requirement is to watch the films that you're going to be voting on, you know what I mean? So, yeah, a bit of a weird one, that.
Yeah, so it's that kind of gets us through the rule changes. Oh, the final one is the sound categories have been updated to mean that if you are an original film, 60% of the music in your film has to be new content. It can't be covers or anything like that. And if you're a sequel, it's 80%. So I guess this is to stop people from using the same score from there.
Okay, yeah. Wow.
In the sequel. And an interesting stat here about sequels. Believe it or not, we've had Terminator 2. We've had the Avengers films. We've had... I'm trying to think other really good sequels, to be fair. There are a lot of good sequels, haven't we, in the last kind of 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, the one that has broken a Academy Award record is Borat subsequent movie film. And it's the first sequel since The Godfather Part 2 to receive an acting nomination.
Wow. Wow, that is impressive.
Almost 50 years. And it is also the longest Academy Award nominated film in history, as its full title, which I had written down. Its full title is 110 characters long.
Yeah.
So it's picked all those great sequels.
I feel like the Borat film is quite an interesting one because it felt like, without diving too much into politics, a film the world kind of probably, it was the right time for it, like the kind of stuff he kind of jokes about and whatever else, and how the character is, obviously it's a kind of holding a mirror up to society, a lot of his stuff, so interesting, because when it came out I was like, oh yeah, the world's definitely ready for a Borat film, I feel, but I didn't expect it to be getting Oscar nominations.
Yeah, I think, as we're going to discuss when we do get into, we are doing predictions, by the way, for this. And don't forget, as I said, we've got our dedicated film and television channel, Rebellious Noise Screen 1. I do videos fortnightly, where I film you in, if you pardon the pun, on all the kind of going on TV, film, streaming, etc. And as obviously cinemas start to reopen in the United Kingdom and in other countries worldwide, cross fingers, there should be some interesting films to discuss. But yeah, definitely, I think we're at the stage now where it's just the Oscars as a whole. This is a big year for it, I think. And as we discussed when we get to the Best Pictures, I think a lot of them are really tied in with the world at the moment. Obviously, we'll get to that in a bit. I guess let's start with some predictions then. Let's go into Best Visual Effects first. That's a nice, easy one to discuss.
Okay, let's get up. Best Visual Effects.
Yeah, so Best Visual Effects. So we've got, I think it's 5 films are nominated for this category, visual effects. Yeah, 5 films. So on this, we've got the Netflix film Love and Monsters, which I just actually recently watched. And when I watched it, this is what I'm happy about. I watched it and I was like, oh, these actually effects are actually pretty cool. And then obviously I see it's been Oscar nominated, and I'm like, oh, that actually makes sense then.
That's a good sign then, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously it's a weird year for film because obviously there wasn't many big tentpole releases. Everything obviously got pushed back. Films that obviously would be in this category, that if they were released last year, I would imagine would have been obviously the Bond film, most likely, as that was obviously a big budget tentpole film, as well as probably one of the MCU films like Black Widow, which obviously has been pushed back to this year. But we're left with obviously Mulan, which obviously was the controversial Disney Plus release. That was their first release they did with this Premier Access. 1999 over here to watch, and then it went on to Disney Plus normally for us regular commies to watch it a few months down the line. And then obviously we've got the one and only Ivan, a smaller kind of film, and the Midnight Sky also, and as well as Tenet. Tenet won the BAFTA for this
in the same category.
I don't see them changing here. I think Mulan, while the effects are strong, and obviously it's another, I think it's $150 million budget film, so obviously the effects are good. I just think that Nolan's one of those that he's always kind of on their radar, and having, had, not really had much chance in the bigger categories. I think this is one that's an easy kind of win for him. And it was the only film of the 5 to get a theatrical release last year. And I think as much as we're talking about streaming,
so weird when you say that. But yeah.
I think as much as we're talking about streaming and being represented very well here, I think that they're not going to give some of these awards to films that haven't been released in the cinema, and I think this is one of them. So my prediction for this, of who I think will win, is Tenet.
Who would you like to win?
I haven't seen the one and only Ivan. I've seen the other 4 films though, so I don't want to disrespect obviously that film, but I have to say probably is Tenet 2. To be fair, I think as much as I didn't really like the film as a film, I think effects wise, obviously what this is based on, I think like he reversed time. He had a plane crash for real. You know, it was very, it was very good visually. Love and Monster would be nice too, I guess. Like, but I'm biased. I guess I just watched that film.
Yeah, it's fresh in your mind. So yeah.
And I guess it would be a nice little still for Netflix, I guess. But I think Tenet's a safe bet here. Out of these, obviously, let us know your thoughts as well. You know, it's not all about what I think, but I think Tenet is the favourite to win this category, and I think I can't sway from that just because of the Nolan influence here, and because Tenet's not this nominated for, don't believe he's nominated for anything else. So I think this will be the award it wins. So yeah, that'll be my prediction. I think next, let's move on to animated film actually while we're still predicting stuff.
So here we go. So animated feature, starting with Onward, Over the Moon, a Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, Soul, and Wolfwalkers. And Shaun the Sheep, gotta say, another name I didn't expect to see at the Oscars, but fair play.
Yeah, they seem to like the studio, to be fair. I think they've nominated almost every film they've made. Obviously, I think it's interesting the omission here is the Croods film. The Croods film, by the way, in the States was at one. There's 2 films last year that managed to kind of have really, really weird kind of pandemic records, and the Croods: A New Age being one of them, where it was number 1 at the box office for 6 weeks, but obviously with takings very, very low due to the pandemic obviously going on. But it's still in the top 5, I think now. Even it's definitely in the top 10 of the box office now. I think it's a weird omission in this category. I think obviously Over the Moon is a beautiful film, although I've seen that. I've not seen Wolfwalkers, so I can't comment. But Over the Moon, it's a very beautiful film, and I get why they've nominated that. Onward's a weird one for me, actually, because it was released. It was kind of like the last proper film that was released, and then
I was going to say it was. It is the last one. Well, when did Soul come out?
Soul came out on Christmas Day. It was released on Disney+.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So.
And then, but Onward was released as part of the Disney Magic Day on leap year. So obviously, it was leap year last year as well. Back all the other stuff.
Back in the olden days.
That was probably the most kind of mundane thing that went down last year. We had a leap year. But yeah, on the 29th they were released on 29th of February.
Right.
Literally just before obviously the world decided to end. Basically,
it does make it feel. I mean, I guess it's always with a yearly cycle anyway, trying to figure out the cutoff point and stuff like that. But this year, even more so, just because of all the strange things that are going on as far as like certain films that might have snuck in that wouldn't have before because other big releases would have come out and they got pushed back. But like you say, films like Onward, that they feel like they were about 2 years ago, because of how much has changed. So, do you think things like that are going to play in their minds? Like as far as...
Yeah, I think when it comes to this category, Pixar's always kind of the go-to, isn't it? And there's 2 Pixar films nominated. Because actually, last year was the first year for, I think, about 5 or 6 years, actually, since it's been like 2 Pixar films in one calendar year. They usually obviously have just 1 film a year, and they could go like that. But last year had 2. And it was very weird even before, the year began and the year progressed. I think in terms of this, like, the older films... It's hard because it's hard for them to pick up steam, really, because the momentum for Onward, it never really got going, you could argue, because obviously it started out in theatres, in cinemas, obviously, when we were able to go, and then it kind of died out, and then it got released on Disney Plus in July or June, I think, July time, and then it never really got its steam then either. I think Onward and Soul, to be fair, this year, Pixar kind of... They really, went out their way to kind of, with inclusivity and diversity, I guess, with both those films. And they both tackle interesting topics, which the Academy quite likes. Now, the favourite here in this category is Soul. And I think that is the film that will win. I think Soul will win. I would like Onward to win, though, in an odd way. Or even Over the Moon. It's a very beautiful film.
Yeah.
I think it would just change up this Pixar kind of domination, but I think it is going to be Soul.
I remember you saying, actually, about at Christmas time, how it was such a feel-good, and, it's quite good of them to release it on Christmas Day. And I do wonder sometimes if... release dates. I mean, I know, like we were talking earlier, obviously they get they're supposed to watch them, and I guess they'll watch them at the same time. But realistically, they're film fans as well, so they would have seen a lot of these films as soon as they come out, and whatever else. So I do often wonder if the influence of that is bigger than some people realize. Simply forgetting about what happened in a film 10 months ago, or a film that's just come out but it hasn't picked up enough steam. So it is quite interesting to think of those kind of things. Which one do you want to move on to next?
Let's go into our screenplays.
Okay, screenplay. Oh, have you frozen me, Lucas? Have I froze on you? Someone is frozen. Oh, are you coming back?
No freezing for me.
I will just go on like normal then. I'm gonna have some of this sparkling Italian rosé, sparkling wine. I'm actually scared though, because I don't like popping things. It's not the manliest thing I've said on this channel. I'll admit that. So it might be like on the wrestling one when we had the pop-up pirate, and I was petrified of that hitting me in the face. I'm more scared of this. All right, I'll do this as we move into the next one. Which one was it?
We're doing screenplay.
Screenplay. Okay, let's have a look. Let's get that one up. Original screenplay. So we have got Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Promising Young Woman, and The Trial of the Chicago 7, and The Sound of Metal.
Yeah, an interesting category, this. And this is a first for many years, actually, that all 5 nominees here for original screenplay are also nominated for Best Picture, which obviously will be our final prediction that we are going to. That's obviously the big award of the night, so we're going to make you wait. So please stick around for that. Coming up, obviously on the red carpet at the moment, we do have 12-time Oscar nominee, believe it or not, Diane Warren, but she had never won for obviously Best Original Song. And interestingly, in that category, actually, all the other nominees, it's their first time. So we've got a 12-time nominee in Diane Warren, who obviously, again, multiple Grammy Award nomination too for her, but she'd never won, an Academy Award.
So it's almost like her first time. It's a first. Well, look, sorry to let you down, people. It didn't pop after all. It literally unscrewed. I mean, I'm glad, because my heart's still racing. Let's have a look. 81. I was worried. Let's have. Anyway, so Lucas, who do you think's going to win this category, and who would you like to win?
This is a really difficult one. I'll do it the other way around. I would like Promising Young Woman to win, as I think that Emma Fennell, she'd a Brit after all. So of course, I side with that.
Cheers.
I can't. It's really difficult because it depends what we're looking for. Because the thing is, this sometimes gets seen as a kind of, it can only be one of two things. Either the winner of this will then win Best Picture, because it's like, how can you be like, well, the screenplay was really, really good, but the film
was crap.
Yeah. Or it is the sympathy prize in the nicest possible way. So it's their way of saying, like,
we thought about you winning
the film.
Yeah.
But Best Picture needs to go. And the thing is, we are to get to Best Picture later on. There's a lot of kind of politics go in with this kind of thing. It's not always as straightforward as they kind of want it to be. And with these films all tackling kind of very different, but very kind of difficult subjects, You know, you obviously got the kind of race stuff, reducing Black Messiah. You know, Minari it's a very interesting film. You know, and it follows. You know, it tackles something, you know, very, very difficult at its heart. Promising Young Woman, you know, again about kind of date rape culture, that kind of stuff. Trial of Chicago 7.
And you know, before you go on, sorry, on Promising Young Woman, I'm very surprised there hasn't been such a big film about that topic before. I guess it's kind of in recent years with the Me Too and stuff like that, it makes more, it's more obvious, I guess, of a thing. But when I first saw the trailer, I was just like, this is genius. Why have they not made a film about this before? You know, I'm sure there are films where that happens. I mean, there definitely are. I've seen films where that happens. But for it to be the sole focus and this kind of like, obviously, the revenge kind of thing to it and whatever else. I was shocked when I watched the trailer. I was just literally going, this is genius. This is such a good idea for a film. But yeah, anyway, sorry, just thought I'd get that in there.
No. You're right, and obviously we can talk about Promising a Woman a lot more, obviously, as we get in front. You know, we've got some other nominations for that film, and I do think that it is a performance-driven film by the lead actress, Carey Mulligan, who again we will get to very, very soon. Don't you worry, we're doing ones for the actors and actresses, and obviously in their supporting and leading roles. But yeah, so in terms of who I would like that film to win, Promising a Woman, but I think that this year. This is going to be the sympathy award, as in, so you know, or perceived sympathy award. You know, I don't know how they're thinking necessarily, and so I don't think the original screenplay will win Best Picture as well. So this is
okay. So this is a little bit of almost a spoiler for what you might think later, depending if it goes the way people might think. But
so then I will say that Minari is going to win this.
Okay.
I think that they are liking the whole, because last year's Best Picture was Parasite, another Korean film, and I think this will be their way of kind of being like, okay, we're keeping an eye on this.
We're in on it. Yeah.
But we'll have other options for Best Picture that we're going to go to, and we'll get to that later on, obviously.
Okay.
So yeah, let's look at adapted screenplay now.
Quick before we move on though, who would you like to win this one?
Oh, Promising Young Woman.
Promising Young. Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, so adapted screenplay this time. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we go on to Borat's subsequent movie film, as we touched on a little bit earlier. The Father, One Night in Miami, Nomadland, and The White Tiger. So once again, Lucas, who's winning?
Yeah, so interesting one with this. The White Tiger follows a near 20-year tradition here of a screenplay nomination being the only nomination for that film. So The White Tiger is not nominated for anything else, like at the awards at all, and it follows almost 20 years has happened in this category. So there we are. They're keeping up to the tradition in that. This is really interesting because we got a really interesting film here in Borat, which is a film which shouldn't really be here, but it is. And so, is it here for the reason being that it's going to win? Or is it here just for the inclusivity? And that's what we got to ask ourselves.
Right.
The Father, I haven't had the chance to see it yet. And that's annoyed me because, it's obviously in other categories too. And I'm looking forward to being able to discuss it, but it's not due for release here till June. I haven't been able to see it. I've seen One Night in Miami, and I've seen, One Night in Miami. And I think the Academy here, because of what I think they're going to do in the main event, then wrong channel. Main event.
Yeah, this ain't a wrestling channel. If you like wrestling, guys, check out RM Pro Wrestling. We talk wrestling as well.
Because I think what they're going to do with the Best Picture, I don't think that this film's going to win. But I can't say it because then it will just literally ball what they're saying.
Okay.
So the film I think will win in this one.
Yeah.
Is One Night in Miami.
Okay.
I think we'll win in this category. The film that I would like to win in this category is also that film, to be fair. Having not seen The Father, just to clarify.
Right.
But I wouldn't even be opposed to The White Tiger winning, to be fair. I think that was just an interesting statistic of it being its own nomination and it wins. And it's not nominated for Best Picture. So,
in for one and you win one. It's not a bad ratio to have, So
100% success rate, I guess.
You were touching on it a little bit there, and obviously it'd be rude of us not to to promote this video right here. But a huge disconnect is what we were talking about before. Well, you were talking about actually when you were actually talking about the BAFTAs, and how, like you kind of touched on it a little bit there. This is on the main, on the brand new RN Screen 1 channel. So please head over and check out the description. We'll have all the links actually. So if you want to subscribe here, we've got more Rebellious Noise content, but more film specific stuff is on our new Screen 1 channel. And Lucas, you were talking about basically the disconnect between award ceremonies at the moment, and specifically focusing on the BAFTAs at this point. In that, a lot of films are being picked that aren't even available to the regular Joes like you and me, and is it unfair? I don't know what you would. I say it's unfair.
I think it is. I mean, obviously, the thing is, they're going to use the pandemic as an excuse. This was the case last year.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the first time.
Yeah, and interesting. A poll was done recently, and 35% of people that were polled with this. This is done by the Los Angeles Times. 35% had not heard of any Best Picture nominee, and only 15% had heard of Mank, which obviously is nominated for 10 awards at the ceremony. And we will be discussing in greater detail, obviously, as we continue the video. It's a very weird thing this year, and I get that, and we're going to hear about this so many times in this award. Again, taking us back to the ceremony, Steven Soderbergh, obviously Academy Award winning director for Erin Brockovich. He's producing the ceremonies and he's in charge basically of it, and he's promised that it'll be cinematic. He's promised that it will be. They've instructed the celebrities who are accepting the awards to think cinematically with their choice of language and their choice of speech, basically. But it's just very odd, how they're being with this, and I don't know how they're going to get it back really, because there's that great disconnect, that great divide basically. Between what the film people, what the general public see and approve of, and what the critics see and approve of, and I think it's just down to the fact that the average age of the, even though they are putting more young people into this voting process, it still is gearing more towards the older moviegoer, which isn't representative really of the broader consensus of people that actually go to watch movies. The movies that make money and the movies that get talked about, are the movies that are aimed at people for the young, for younger demographics.
Yeah, of course,
But look, check those videos out, and I think the Oscars have tried here, but it's just a case of they have obviously thrown a lot of the more popular films into smaller categories. Like we touched on Visual Effects, Mulan and Tenet, probably two films that were nominated. Watched obviously by a lot of people last year. Tenet obviously being, I think it was a $300 million taking in the box office, and then Mulan, of course, had a huge success with Disney Plus, last year, so would have been seen by a lot of people.
They still feel like the two biggest films to me, just because the hype around Mulan was big anyway, and it was just as everything went crazy, and it was like. What's going to happen to Mulan? Because it was the biggest film coming up at that, in that kind of month. It was like, what's going to happen to that film? Obviously, we touched on it earlier, but the Disney Plus model. And then, which, by the way, I'm sure they're very pleased they released that that service just in time. And then, obviously, touching on Tenet as well. That was the lifeline for all the cinemas. They were desperately hoping for that to not get pushed too much, and so they could reopen and stuff like that. A lot of cinemas opened with classic movies to get you in the door before Tenet came out and stuff like that. So it feels strange seeing those films pop up, because in my head, like, they are kind of the old world still, and they are the big, everybody was buzzed about, talking about those films. So yeah, interesting seeing them obviously still popping up. And I go back to kind of what I mentioned earlier about how I wonder if things like that are going to play a part.
Yeah, I think, obviously the Academy have got to decide, how much they can hold on to this belief that a film has to be in the cinema. And that's obviously going to be reflecting in, obviously, the ballots, obviously, as they come in and, see what films have been picked. And I think there's key awards here to look at. And the screenplays, to be fair, are one of them, where it's one of those where it's like, are they Screenplay is one of those where, they are more looking at, the behind the scenes stuff, more so than the actual picture. But when it comes to visual effects, I think a film like Tenet, which obviously, had a cinema release, was designed to be watched in IMAX.
Of course,
And large screen, another large screen formats, that should be looked at, higher than a film that got, put onto Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever, and watched in the small screen. In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he was Nolan was holding out for that. He was very strong in no, it has to be in the cinema. So I mean, I definitely see what you're saying there. You're right. There are certain films that are even like we touched on it earlier, projector and stuff. I remember when the Dark Knight Rises came out, and I was like I whack my projector out for certain films, because there are certain films, even if you're not in the cinema, you want to get the best experience out of them. And I think Tenet is one of those. And obviously you touched on it earlier as far as like visual effects go. Yeah, got to see that going high. But should we move on to the next category?
Yeah, let's move on to the supporting roles. So let's do the actresses first. Best actress.
Okay, best actress and supporting role. Okay. Right. Oh, I've missed some of the names. You can read them out, Lucas.
There's Maria Bakalova for Borat 2, Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy, Olivia Colman for The Father, Amanda Seyfried for Mank, and I'm going to butcher this, I think, a bit, Yu Young Yuan for Minari. Sorry if I had butchered that.
That's what I would assume as well. So I'll throw myself under the bus, mate. It won't just be you.
So we have an interesting one here with Glenn Close, actually, where Glenn Close is actually also nominated for a Razzie. So Razzie, obviously, the kind of flip reverse of the Oscars, as this is the film that really divided critics and fans. So the Rotten Tomatoes scores for this film for Glenn Close, Hillbilly Elegy, audiences loved it, 83%. Critics, 26%.
But who really matters? This is the thing. But then when it's such a divide, I mean, it's not exactly 50-50, is it?
No, it's really, really odd. This statistic. I mean, Glenn Close is like a kind of, even though again she hasn't won an Oscar, so again this will be, I think it's her 8th nomination, and she has not won, which I think will tie her with Peter O'Toole. Late Peter O'Toole, of course. I think he had 8 nominations as well. So she hasn't won. And I think sadly that trend is going to continue. I think with the critical consensus being that poor for the film, I don't see it continuing here. Now, then you've got the interesting one of Olivia Colman, who obviously she won for portraying for The Favourite, 2 years ago, and for best leading actress, she won a couple of years ago for. And then Amanda Seyfried for Mank, she was kind of the forerunner in this. Like when Mank obviously got his 10 nominations, everyone was praising Amanda Seyfried, and obviously she's kind of had that thing which a lot of kind of actors and actresses can end up doing. They do a lot of the kind of in terms of the Oscar kind of thing, silly films early on. So she's obviously been in a lot of kind of comedy films, and obviously she's done a lot of films which haven't really required as much of acting. And then she kind of started doing serious roles in the last few years. And this is now her kind of, this could now be seen as her kind of rebirth. As we saw obviously with Reese Witherspoon, she won for obviously Walk the Line, following obviously being in stuff like Legally Blonde, stuff which obviously just isn't going to get as much as obviously some people might be a fan of it, especially people, kids obviously.
Some people's favourite film, but you're right. It can only go so far in certain categories though. So, but now I think with the fact that Minari, what Minari's done is similar to what Parasite did last year. Is it got nominated and people were just like, well, okay, this is just because they want to, start rewarding, foreign language films. Yeah. But then it did a thing where it just kept getting talked about. And Parasite did it last year. They had an amazing, I forget her name, the translator
because obviously the director, who's just phenomenal, his English is not obviously his first language, so obviously he had to have a translator.
Yeah.
And they became like the stars of this kind of promotional tour. But no, as well, it can cost. The ceremony this year is costing $40 million, and the average cost of a campaign for the Oscars is between $15 and $20 million. So it's quite a costly thing, for the industry. But last year, obviously, there was that, and it just kept getting talked about. And before you knew it, Parasite was the forerunner in every category, and it won Best Picture.
Yeah.
And so now this has happened again, Minari, and the role in particular is the role played by, again, sorry for butchering the name, by Yu Hung Hun in Minari. And I think that's who will win this award. Who I would like to win. Yeah, I think that's sort of who I'd like to win, to be fair. I think obviously C3 is going to have many more years to obviously get that. It would be a shame that Glenn Close most likely, again, look, she's
missing out again,
70s, but she could pull out one more performance to obviously hopefully win one finally, but it's not me for this film.
You got me thinking about the wrestling channel again there, mate, with one more match. One more match. One more nomination.
I mean, look, she's an Academy sweetheart, and she's always going to be kind of in that contention
in and around there,
Best Actress, obviously, of her generation and stuff. But I just don't think she's winning for this film. Despite obviously doing something which the Oscars quite like, she obviously changed her body image kind of thing, more costumes, that kind of stuff. The Oscars like that kind of stuff. But like the extreme weight losses and extreme weight gains and all that kind of stuff. And she obviously played something really out of character.
Yeah.
That critical consensus isn't very good. Coleman's an interesting one too, because it's such a performance film she's in, The Father. Again, having not seen it, I can't say too much. But yeah, that'll be my thing. And never count out Maria Bakalova. I mean, obviously, the Oscars don't really tend to like comedies. Obviously, for people who watch Golden Globes, the Golden Globes do have categories for comedy and musicals, which sometimes obviously does help people like Maria Bakalova, with the Golden Globe. But I don't think the Oscars will think the same way. If Borat was to win, I think it would most likely be. Yeah, I did do that video also, the reaction for the Golden Globes. That was back in January, wasn't it?
Of course, yeah. On this very channel, Lucas, before we moved over to Screen One. But check out both channels, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, if Borat was
subscribe.
to win, I think it would most likely be in an adapted screenplay. I don't think it would be an actress role. But let's move on to actors in supporting role then.
Let's do it. Right, so best actors in a supporting role. Okay, they're moving too fast for me again, Lucas. You're gonna have to go again.
We got Sacha Baron Cohen.
It's going to my head, clearly.
We got Sacha Baron Cohen for obviously Borat. We've got Leslie Odom Jr. for One Night in Miami, Paul Raci for Sound of Metal, Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah. Now,
very interesting too, from the same film.
Indeed, and the Academy decided that neither of them, despite playing the two main characters, were a leading role. They both been nominated in supporting roles for this.
Are they seen as equal leads then? Is that, or could they not have both gone into lead?
Judas and the Black Messiah. One is Judas and one is the Black Messiah.
Yes, I mean, but could they not have then both, by this same logic, both been the leading actor?
Yeah, what it comes down to essentially, the Academy.
Where can we fit them in? Basically, we've got loads in the leading. We'll stick them both in supporting.
We've got when it comes to leading roles, I've got something on that too. But in regards to this, it is just down to the Academy can choose which categories to nominate you for, and they determined that both these roles were supporting roles, and have nominated both men.
Who's the lead then?
There's no lead role according to the Academy. There's no lead role.
They really do make up the rules.
It's not like the Golden Globes or the Emmys where obviously which even that I think is kind of weird. You send off your episode or your part or your whatever it is and say nominate this please.
This
in this
is
category. And they say yes or no. Whereas obviously the Oscars are the other way around, where they kind of go, they see the film, see the performances, and they go, oh right, you know. But it's like, you know, Anthony Hopkins, who we're going to discuss very, very soon. He obviously won Best Actor for Silence of the Lambs, despite only being in the film for what, like 10 minutes, if that.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
so it's very interesting. And we're going to get something again with the actress one very, very soon. I've got a fact on that coming up very soon. Also on this, we have the fact that Leslie Odom Jr., there's now a weird tradition that was started by Mary J. Blige a few years ago. She was nominated a few years ago for both acting and singing, so original song. And, you know, people thought that was a thing at the time. But since then, it's happened every year. Lady Gaga did it, of course, for Shallow. And for, what's the film called again? The film escapes me.
The Star is Born?
The song called Shallow, of course, and the film Star is Born. And Cynthia Erivo did it last year. So, yeah, Leslie Odom Jr., he's nominated for Best Original Song for Speak Now from One Night in Miami, and he's nominated here for his acting in One Night in Miami. And I hate to say it, I think he's going to go home empty-handed, despite getting 2 nominations. I know, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here. But yeah, this is an interesting one because obviously Daniel Kaluuya, he won the BAFTA. I'm just checking, did he win Best Football Actor? Yeah, he did win the Golden Globe as well. So he is, you know, he's won 2 here. Interesting that obviously in obviously the Golden Globes, obviously the supporting actor roles are only for any motion picture anyway as well. So they are more comparable to this award than the lead actors would be anyway. So I will go with...
This is who you think, right?
Who I think will win is Daniel Kaluuya. What I would like to win, though, based on the role being quite a demanding and challenging one, is Paul Raci for Sound of Metal. I think he really embraced, obviously, Sound of Metal, we haven't seen it. He obviously had to learn sign language. He was very integral to that film. But I think because he was very silent with his acting, very kind of understated, it's not got the, you know, shouty, angry, crying scenes in it, you know, from him at least.
Easy to slip under the radar with performances like that.
I don't think it's enough to kind of win this. And I think nominating 2 people, they've nominated, making the mistake they made with this not acknowledging a lead role.
2 from the same film,
Black Messiah. I think,
I mean, if that film misses out twice in the same category, it's I mean,
so obviously the, you know, one that we had the series discussed though is Sacha Baron Cohen, and like I'm not really a fan of his stuff, but I think I'm a fan of him being included here because I think
what it means for
it's going to risk that the nominees just end up being the kind of same thing, you know, and he is obviously very out there as we know. At the moment as well, Emerald Fennell, by the way, she's being interviewed on the red carpet. On the red carpet, by the way, they are adhering to a 7 feet distance from the interviewer at all times, and masks are being worn by everyone who's basically not physically on that red carpet. The red carpet is also much shorter than previous years due to the smaller venue. Only 140 people, I believe, are going to be in attendance, and they are rotating people. It is going to be an absolute...
I mean, it's hard enough to get invited in the first place. I mean, this year is going to be tough. Should we do a bit of fashion watch as well? You know, they like to do that, don't they, on these pre-shows? I mean, she's wearing a lovely green number with some pink flowers. Yeah, she is. She's got to be.
She's got to be.
Yeah, I mean...
we've researched that just to clarify. We don't want to insult her.
Especially our instincts are like, yeah, she's got to be.
It's her first feature film.
I mean, she's holding it like she loves it, you know. So,
Well, congratulations to her.
There you go. Well done. You know, it could be an item. Many congratulations for you. So, let the first be from us here at Rebellious Noise.
But yeah, obviously the pre-show that's on E. By the way, the main show starts at midnight 30 at 12:30. Sorry, don't say midnight 30 like that for.
Midnight 30 is that a thing people say? It is now.
It is. Do you say midnight? I don't know.
Well, I think Americans do say stuff like that. Don't they say like something like noon? They say noon with. I don't know. Americans, let us know. Do you say stuff like that?
Yeah, do you speak English properly? We have no idea. But,
Do we? No.
but yeah, yeah. Obviously at the moment they've the ceremony is very, very different this year. Usually over 3,000 people are actually at the awards. No, obviously you said it is hard to get a ticket, but it is. They do tend to invite kind of everyone and their, everyone
and their dog.
Media would circle, the dog, doesn't get invited, and it's obviously usually a very kind of full on affair where the red carpet can take.
It looks very tame, doesn't it? Hours. It was very tame seeing one person there. I don't know if you just saw the same bit where someone casually walking behind, who's probably like a stagehand, and then, one person getting interviewed, one person interviewing. It looks very strange and surreal to look at it like that. Another quick thing we should point out as well, being that I know, Lucas, yourself, we're into nerdy things like train stations, that they're in a train station.
Indeed.
In LA. How cool is that?
I watched the BBC have done like a video.
I watched the same thing, where they show it,
and obviously explaining the COVID measures that are in place, and lots of measures in place, so everyone knows that they're trying their best to make sure everyone feels safe. Obviously, I do have my own opinions on. I don't think they should be forcing people to kind of be there, and there are people who did decline to attend a ceremony based on the fact that they don't want to travel in this circumstances, which I think is more than understandable. But it just again shows that disconnect where Hollywood are basically saying, "Yeah, we know there's been this really bad thing that's happened for 12 months, but we've got something
going on."
On, so you've got to show up for it.
Yeah, please forget about that. And we've got the Oscars, kind of a big deal. But yeah, I mean, like you said though, at least they are trying to do things where they've got the multiple bases, and like say in LA, they've got the train station where they can use it, and it's known to Hollywood, as you might have seen in that BBC video as well. They've used it in a number of films. One of the Nolan Batman films actually used it as well. So yeah, I guess it has a bit of Hollywood lineage there, so that's all right.
Yeah, I think that's obviously a nice touch, of course. Them, and I guess I can see why they like that. But yeah, I mean,
could have done it outdoor. Could have done it by the Hollywood sign. They could have done it outdoor by the Hollywood sign. Just camp up there.
I mean, at one point they did discuss, obviously, doing an outdoor part of the ceremony. And also, just, this year, for the first time ever, actually, the one of the other changes this year is that the nominees for Best Original Song, so all the nominees will be performing as part of this pre-show as well. Wow. So we are going to have performances on this pre-show from various artists, basically. They'll be performing on this, and during the ceremony as well, we will be seeing trailers for some films presented by their actors, which is obviously a way, I guess, they're kind of wanting people to come back into theatres.
Yeah, get some eyes. Yeah, all the eyes are on us today, guys. Let's show our trailers. Yeah, it's a smart way to do it.
But yeah, also this year as well, there's no host as well. There's no host, but they have confirmed that presenting awards for acting, so obviously we're discussing acting just now, presenting awards for acting will be last year's winners, as is always the tradition. So we'll be having last year's winners for their respective actor categories present to this year's, which is kind of like just a thing they do.
Passing the torch sort of thing, eh?
Yeah, passing the torch to the next actor. Or actress. Well, I think actor, to be fair. Actor, regardless of gender, really. But yeah, talking of acting, let's go on to leading performances. These are obviously big ones. We'll start with the actresses again.
Actress, yeah.
In a leading role.
Right. So we've got Viola Davis, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Andra Day for The United States versus Billie Holiday, Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman, Frances McDormand for Nomadland, and Carey Mulligan for Pretty Young Woman. Am I saying it right? I knew when I wrote that down to PYW, I'd get Pretty Young Thing in my head, and that's exactly what happened. And threw me off. But Pretty Young Woman.
So here's where it gets interesting. So at the Golden Globes, the two actress award winners, so for drama and for musical comedy, were Andra Day, one for drama for United States vs. Billie Holiday, and Rosamund Pike, who isn't actually nominated here at all, one for I Care a Lot, a film which she and many of the kind of award goers as well felt that actually was a drama. but was put into the again the Golden Globes. They put them in this category,
Separating them,
musical
yeah.
comedy. As it's a black comedy, so I guess it is somewhat, but it still leans more towards a drama thing. So, but then when we got round to the BAFTAs, Frances McDormand picked up the award for Best Actress. So this is where we get interesting, because I feel that the Academy are going to go different completely from both of them. And I think Carey Mulligan is going to win here for Pretty Young Woman. And it will be the kind of steal of the night. From this is now going to get. I have to wait to the Best Picture to discuss what this. It'll all link in. Please stay watching. But yeah, I think the Andra Day film, US versus Billie Holiday, very good performance by her there. But I think that the Academy will still kind of downplay it as a streaming film, not as a film performance. I think Frances McDormand is always a shout for this. Obviously, she's won twice previously. Most recently for 3 Billboards in Missouri. Very, very good film, that to be fair. But I think that that's just not going to happen. But I would like her to win. But then also because she's tied in with she's actually also, well, by the way, she's the first person, period, so not just woman, she's the first person to be nominated for acting and producing the same film the same year, because she's a producer for Nomadland as well. So again, another kind of first. By the way, Oprah Winfrey and Oprah Winfrey's another person who's done it, but not for the same
film in the same year.
Same film, same year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite an extraordinary thing, and we'll talk about Nomadland in some more detail in a bit.
Next someone to do it, and they'll sing as well, like you said earlier. The singing one, and that's become normal, and now you got to get the triple threat.
There's a lot of patterns, it seems, here, but yeah. So yeah, but also the other stat coming out of this is, like we said, obviously. So in actor in a supporting role, they couldn't decide who was the leading role. In actress in a leading role, they did nominate Viola Davis, who is very worthy of a nomination. I get that, but she only has 26 minutes of screen time in this film, which is less. Which is less than 2 of her co-stars.
Right.
Who, didn't get nominated at all. So yeah, it's an interesting one how they choose to view a lead performance, and how they.
It's like the Silence of the Lambs thing you mentioned earlier. 10 minutes of Anthony Hopkins being on. So
it's very odd how they do this. But yeah, Vanessa Kirby is also kind of, she's had a good campaign too. But I still think that the upset of the night for this is going to be an upset in a good way.
Yeah, unexpected, I guess, for the Academy. Not so much upsetting.
Yeah, it's not. But yeah, I mean, I think the unexpected one will be Carey Mulligan, because what I think they're going to try to do or look to do is to show that they are catering to a younger audience. And yeah, I think Viola Davis, she's won twice before. Vanessa Kirby, I think she still has kind of more to kind of come from this. Andra Day, yeah. So I think Carey Mulligan, which will be weird because there'd be differences in all these kind of awards here, which will be a kind of first. I guess the safe bet here will be Frances McDormand, but yeah, I'll go out on a limb and say Carey Mulligan, will win this. But yeah, don't forget, we do obviously many videos on not to the award ceremonies on the Rebellious Noise Screen 1 channel. Obviously, I know you're watching this on the main channel, but please like, share, and subscribe on that channel too, Rebellious Noise Screen 1. I'll be back next week with another edition of Film You In, where I talk up all different types of films coming out for streaming, TV series, and much, much more. And we will also be having a reaction video, or I will be posting a reaction video on kind of, when the results obviously of the Oscars do kind of happen. That'll be out somewhat sometime this week. But yeah, and
exactly that. If you're in the UK like us, as you might be able to tell from our accents, that last film year, obviously, is a good help for those that want to find out how to watch some of these nominated movies. If you don't know where to look, then Luke has come up with a nice list for you.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to be able to find all these kind of release dates at the moment as well. Have we got Glenn Close? Yeah, we have. We have got Glenn Close. She's looking very happy and wearing a nice blue number for us. And obviously in the back there are production assistants, obviously wearing the face masks, and you can see that they are kind of, all the safety precautions are being done. But yeah, Glenn Close obviously looking to maybe go home with an Oscar finally, but we shall see later on. But yeah, actor and leading role time then. Let's get to that one.
Okay, so best actor and leading role. We've got Riz Ahmed for The Sound of Metal, Gary Oldman in Mank, Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Anthony Hopkins in The Father, and Stephen, I'm going to stop with the names again, just like you did, Yuan, I'm going to say. Forgive me if that is wrong, Stephen, in Minari. Yeah. Okay, so some films we've already covered here as well. Obviously, you touched on The Sound of Metal a bit there. I don't think we've mentioned Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Obviously, touched a bit on Minari, Mank, and what was the other one? The Father. Yeah, obviously, Chadwick Boseman is obviously going to draw a lot of eyes this year. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on who you think's going to win, who you'd like to win, and I guess the inclusion of Chadwick Boseman?
Well, the inclusion was never in doubt, really. I think, obviously, he did win the Golden Globe for this, and he, has been a forerunner in this, but it has flip-flopped a little bit, and Anthony Hopkins winning the BAFTA was interesting, but I've decided to kind of, again, Anthony Hopkins is a fantastic actor.
But again, haven't seen the film, so...
I haven't seen the film, but I think I'm leaning towards, in a way, him winning the BAFTA because he is obviously British, more so than the performance. Right. But then he has also, he's doing this thing where he has flirted with it, this kind of being his, final role. Swan
song, right? Yeah.
So he's in his 80s, of course. Anthony Hopkins, phenomenal actor. I think we all kind of know how good he is at, in terms of, British actors, he's up there amongst the best of them, isn't he?
Yeah. So I like that story you were telling on the film you were in recently. No, it was on the BAFTAs episode, wasn't it? About him not expecting to win it all. But I wonder if there'll be something similar tonight. Well, I guess it can't be because he's got to be there.
He's got to be. He's got to be represented, I guess. But yeah, this is an interesting one because you got, again, Oldman, he won recently for the Churchill film, didn't he? A few years back. Then you've got Riz Ahmed, who has really been on this rise in the past few years.
It's so good to see him in this category, I'll tell you that. It really is.
He's such a good actor. So yeah, it's flip-flop really for me between Boseman and Anthony Hopkins. Obviously, Hopkins did win the BAFTA. Golden Globe-wise, Chadwick Boseman did win for drama, and Sacha Baron Cohen won for... he won. Sorry, but that was interesting too because in Golden Globes land, Sacha Baron Cohen was a lead actor. But in the Oscars, he's a supporting actor.
Right. Yeah, like you said, they make up their own rules, so Lucas, come on.
So yeah, they flip flop that. You see, as much as I think I would like him to kind of win. I mean, he obviously joined it's only the 8th time this has happened in the 93 years the Oscars has been around that a posthumous performance has been nominated, and only 2 of them have won. Obviously, Heath Ledger being the most famous one.
With the Joker,
Dark Knight Rises. But
yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I mean, as far as Chadwick Boseman's inclusion here, I mean, I haven't seen the film. Have you seen it?
Yeah, seen the film.
Yeah. So just as a complete outsider, I feel like, would you feel like the Academy are going to? There's a bit. I mean, we were talking about whether or not there's weight in release dates and are there weight in other things. Is there? Because I remember when obviously Heath Ledger won for the Joker, a lot of people were looking at it kind of like how they look at Kurt Cobain of him dying kind of helped in some ways, but it's like, but Nirvana were also huge, and the Joker's performance was, I mean, I don't, if he didn't die, I think I'd be looking at that performance the same way. I mean, you can't help but look at it and say, oh, you know, there's a little bit, maybe a little bias where you think give them something. So do you think there could be a bit of that at play here, or do you think if he, I mean, yeah, what kind of performance was it? Like I said, I haven't seen it, but you have.
No, look, it's a good performance that he does. It's a nice ensemble film. This Mulroney, and it isn't the kind of film that would usually get nominated. That's the interesting thing. But obviously, we've got Viola Davis nominated for it. You know, over on the leading role actress. So it's interesting that they've chosen to kind of include it as much as they have. And again,
so do you think it could partly be the, you know, obviously he's passing, and I don't want to take anything away from the guy, don't get me wrong, but just do you think that's part of it? So if that's the case, then winning it might be more of a stretch, but then, like you say, he won other awards and stuff like that. So
yeah, and in the nicest possible way, there really hasn't been much of a push from the other nominees to kind of win this. And I guess it is kind of hard because, I mean, if you are campaigning for this, let's pretend COVID isn't a factor at this point. If you're campaigning for this, you're basically trying to campaign over someone who obviously tragically died last year.
Yeah, and everybody's still very heartfelt. You know, it's still a raw thing. Yeah, so
and you know, Anthony Hopkins, you know, he said he didn't really care.
He probably wouldn't campaign anyway.
He's probably
yeah.
Already. You know, in his house in Wales. I can't really believe he has neighbours.
That made me laugh when you said that. Yeah, I just I'd be the same. I'd be a bit worried. You can't help but think of it. You can't help but attach these actors to their roles sometimes and think, I've seen you do some scary things. Is this Chadwick Boseman's last project that will be released, or is there anything else that you had pipeline? This is the last one.
Yeah, it's the last one.
So even when I say that, I get a little choked up. You know, so you can't help but think there will be an influence in some sense. But then, like I said, when you get a certain performance, it's not right to put it down to that. If the performance is good enough, the performance is good enough, you know. So
at the moment, we do have Yeri Han and you're on. We are butchering them. The stars of Minari, of course. But the thing is, it's good that we're butchering Yuan's name because she called us Brits snobbish at the BAFTAs.
Come on now.
The full comment, by the way, was that she was honoured to be awarded, recognised by us over in Britain, as we are known to be quite snobbish and quite proud of our film heritage. So she was actually bigging us up a little bit.
I guess.
Not totally forgiven, but she is most likely going to walk out tonight with a award for actress in a supporting role, and rightfully deserved. Minari is a phenomenal film, as we'll get to. But back to this, sorry. So, who I would like to win,
and who you
is
think?
Riz Ahmed. If we're basing this on a acting kind of thing,
is that a British persuasion seeping in there, or in any way,
potentially?
We've got to be honest here.
One of my favourite TV shows of the past kind of 10 years or so was The Night Of. It stars Riz Ahmed, and it was just so encapsulating. I know it was so kind of. I know we obviously now it's become the norm, hasn't it? Where we binge watch stuff, don't we? Series, you know, on Netflix. You know, you have the whole Stranger Things. You watch all.
Go straight away, yeah.
You know, and that for me was a series that, you know, even though I didn't really necessarily need to watch all in one, like I just enjoyed it so much that I did. And you know, I've been following him kind of more since then. Every project he does is different and is interesting. And I think like it kind of does suck that this film's come out in this year at this time, because who I think will win is Chadwick Boseman. So yeah, Chadwick Boseman or would like to see, to be fair, is Riz Ahmed. He does. I think he does deserve it. But I think this year, I think they're going to go for Carey Mulligan for actress in a leading role, as a nice way to be like, hey, young people, we're relevant. Chadwick Boseman again. To be fair, but look, Black Panther, he's won an award finally. Obviously, Black Panther as well. You know, it was nominated for Best Picture, obviously, a few years ago, becoming the first superhero film to be done. To be nominated in that category. So I think this will be Chadwick Boseman's award, basically. Obviously, let us know what you think. Just interestingly on this actually, Jodie Foster has broken a interesting record this year, as she has become the first Golden Globe winner for Best Actress. To not be nominated at the Oscars. So she was obviously she was nominated. She won the Golden Globe,
right?
For supporting role for the Mauritanian. That's it, Mauritanian. But that film and that role have not been nominated.
It's strange because usually they are almost spoilers for the Oscars. They're that close sometimes, you know. So it is strange, like you say, for someone to win an award but not be even nominated for another award ceremony.
It's the first time in 45 years that's happened.
Wow.
So yeah, she's an interesting little stat coming off the back of that.
Yeah.
So we discussed directing, and then we're going to discuss, by the way, after that, we discuss some more kind of stuff about the ceremony, the red carpet, and that kind of stuff before we do obviously go into our best picture as the final one. So,
let's go. So best director we're going with him?
Directing.
Okay. Thomas Vinterberg on Another Round, David Fincher for Mank, Lee Isaac Chung for Minari, Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, and Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman. So you didn't throw me off that time because I didn't think of the Michael Jackson classic. So best director, Lucas. Who are you thinking, and who would you like?
So the front runner here is Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. She won the BAFTA. She won the Golden Globe. I think she won the Screen Actors Guild Awards as well. So she's
doing all right for herself.
Yeah. And Nomadland we're going to talk about in a lot of detail when it comes to Best Picture. So I'll save some of that for then. Obviously, 2 females nominated in this category in the first time ever as well. So that's always an interesting one. David Fincher, he is an Academy favourite. Just makes such beautiful films to watch, and it's so good kind of at knowing kind of what shots to get. And this is where this one I'm torn with because of what I think's happening in the Best Picture. So the front runner is Chloe Zhao. I had already kind of said, and we've spoken about obviously liking Promising Young Woman. And I think obviously if it does go the way I think it will go, where obviously if Carey Mulligan wins for her acting in that film, I don't see the directing winning here. I think that kind of rules that out. I don't think they're going to honour it as much as we would like it to be.
Right.
It's a British film, I know that, and obviously it would be nice, obviously, if it was, but I don't see that happening. So that eliminates that for me. Now this is where it gets difficult because it is basically for me a three-way talk between Minari, so Lee Isaac Chung for Minari, David Fincher for Mank, and Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. And I just don't think that this streak she's on is going to be broken. So I think Chloe Zhao will win for Nomadland. Who I would like to win is also Chloe Zhao, to be fair. I quite liked Mank. It's not my usual type of film. I can see why they like it so much. And I wouldn't be opposed to Minari, to Chung winning for Minari.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think Chloe Zhao's, this is kind of the one where, it's going to have to follow this trajectory. I can't see it.
I mean, it would suck. It's kind of like getting all the stickers in the book except for one, except for the shiny.
What is your next film? What is your next film, though? What is your next film? So before we get onto our final award, we'll just touch upon some of the other stuff that is going on. Obviously, there's 23 statuettes up for grabs tonight. We've touched upon some of the main ones. Obviously, a lot of the kind of stuff that goes on behind the scenes is key here when it comes to the awards. And obviously, there's always these little caveats here. Well, obviously, stuff like Suicide Squad, it did win for hair and makeup a few years ago. So it was an Academy Award winning film.
You can stick that on your Blu-ray re-release. So,
despite obviously, before people attack me, I quite like Suicide Squad.
I covered it when it came out with Tom on Talking Beans, and we gave it Do I give a spoiler? Yeah, I mean, I might as well. If you listen to that, basically we rate films out of £10 though. What you'd like to pay for it in the cinema, and we gave it a 6, and it was the first one we gave a 6. Every time we gave a 6, we were like, "Oh, Suicide Squad's a 6," you know. And 6 doesn't sound very good, but I think a lot of that was. I know we're going a bit of a tangent here away from the Oscars, but a lot of that was just because it was kind of overhyped, you know. It was one of the films I feel like struggled because of its hype, let it down. But it was a good film. If it maybe come out at a different time or was perceived in a different way, I thought it was a good so. Yeah, again, it's one of those things we always go back and go, a 6 ain't bad. It's just good, you know. And so I think that's what it is. I think it had so much hype that people went against the film. I don't think it was that bad. I think it was a good film, and that's all it was, you know.
It's another film. It's a film as well that suffered from trailer gate, where it.
I think I lost on popcorn.
Yeah, because it had a trailer that showed it in a different light, I think, and then it got released. It was very different from that trailer, and fans can never understand that. Why
which just fueled everything. The look of the film, the merch. The merch was selling out before the film came out, you know. So it was kind of accidentally setting itself up for failure in some ways. But anyway, we move on. Suicide Squad's about 5 years old now, so there's a new one coming out, so it's kind of relevant.
So yeah. I mean, in terms of some of the kind of other awards that are going on, I think that the period drama Emma is most likely between Emma and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, really, for makeup and hairstyling. I think the Oscars, they have to accept period dramas. They require a lot of work, and obviously it's such a. If you ever get a chance, there's a couple of documentaries on YouTube that detail. If you're into this kind of stuff, to be fair, the hair and makeup, stuff that goes on, and somebody's actually spending 2, 3, 4 hours in the chair, just to achieve what was a natural look 400 years ago. Yeah,
well, that's exactly it. For this kind of category, it's got to be a period drama or something extreme, But that is quite interesting actually. So I'll be looking.
Yeah, I think Emma's kind of the front runner in this. I think rightfully so. In terms of sound, and this might sound ironic here, but it's got to be Sound of Metal.
You'd hope so.
Have you seen it yet?
No, not yet. I've been meaning to, but
an audio file, and people don't know. Scott's always the guy who, before we start recording, he's always, can you hear me? What's that rustling, etc. So he's very conscious about sound, and obviously sound here on Rebellious Noise.
I feel like I might relate a bit in that film, and I definitely want to check it out. Like I mentioned earlier, big Riz Ahmed fan as well. So, but like you say, I mean, it's in the name, Sound of Metal. It's got to be up for something.
In terms of the reasons why, obviously, it explores sound in a very different way, as obviously it deals with a character losing his hearing, and so you spend parts of the film. Hearing sounds that we're not used to or people who are of full hearing are not used to, because we don't have to go for that. And there's a lot of kind of nice use of the sound as well, and all the audio, all the dialogue scenes are obviously they've made them very intimate on purpose, as obviously we are. Again, we take for granted, I guess, the fact that obviously as full hearing individuals, we don't have to necessarily always rely on every single sound meaning something and mattering. So I think that's definitely kind of it. It's
another film. Sorry, before you move on, it's another film idea that I think is one of those that is, again, why has it not been explored that much before? I think it's such a great idea. So even like you say, different sites, and obviously. Many people have different varying kind of abilities with sight and sound and things like that. And I've always wondered, how do they portray that in film? How do you? It must be really difficult to get an authentic kind of representation of that, So they must have worked really hard with people who had similar experiences as the character in the film, So again, another one is where it's like, wow, this is something that should have been made probably a long time ago. So I'm eager to see it.
Hell, for years, it's been recast so many times over the years. I believe for about the last 10 years or so, and so it's been a long time coming. As they've obviously tried to. Get the film done the right way. So I think that again will go into this nomination. Because again, like, there's another thing with these films, obviously, like we're saying, as much as I know there is that, you know, we have touched upon that disconnect that does exist, obviously, you know, with these films. But I think still what we can't overlook is the fact that there is so much hard work that goes into these films.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what, the research alone on that film would be ridiculous. The amount of stuff they would have to do. I mean, I'm just assuming it's accurate. You know, some people might watch and go, "That's not what it's like." But if they've hit the nail on the head, then basically, I don't see how that one couldn't win the award.
Yeah, no, you know, it's been beautifully reviewed as well. In terms of costume as well, like, I guess that's another one. You've got Emma and Ma Rainey both in there. They're both heavily costume kind of films, and again, looking at the period genres most likely. And then yeah, like when it comes to stuff like score and sat and song, I think how much I would like, to be fair, I'd like Leslie Odom to win for One Night in Miami. If he's speaking now, I think it's a beautiful song. But I think most likely they're going to go for the best song from the film The Life Ahead, which is EOSI, which is yeah, I think that's probably most likely going to win. But I wouldn't rule out. It could depend, because obviously they're doing the live performances obviously very soon on this.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's several awards up for grabs. Several films that obviously have one nomination that might sneak into winning one of the smaller categories. One of the films, to be fair, that got completely overlooked in terms of acting categories here, I feel, was News of the World. It was a film which is Tom Hanks' film. It was, again, at one point before these nominations got announced, it was, you know, people going, "Oh yeah, that's got Best Actor written all over it for Tom Hanks."
Yeah.
Obviously nothing for the two-time Oscar winner, obviously back to back for Forrest Gump and Philadelphia back in the 90s. But yeah, he's not really been able to ever really recapture that. You know, that magic since, obviously, and obviously almost 30 years now since. Which is,
I mean, it's not like he's not had some, you know, it's not like a career full of duds since either. You know, he's had some great roles since as well.
Yeah, Captain Phillips a few years ago. So that was a very, very good film.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know, it's just a film that they decided not to nominate more of. And before we do get into the Best Picture, yeah, my biggest, well, to be fair, it's linked to the Best Picture, so we will link it in. The film that I think should have been nominated in this category, and bearing in mind the Oscars, they changed this category actually a few years ago, so they can nominate between 5 and 10 films, and this year they nominated 8 films, so they would have had a room for this film. The film that should have been nominated in this category is Soul, in my opinion. I think Soul, and they hate animated films. Only 3 before they've ever done this. They've been nominated in this category. The first, obviously, Beauty and the Beast back in the 90s, when Toy Story 3 in 2010, and I believe Up 1 year before, were the only 3 that ever kind of broken into this. But I think Soul should have been. It was such a big release on Christmas Day. It's a feel-good film. You know, it had near universally critical acclaim, and yeah, I just think it's missing in the next category. But look, let's get to it then. Let's get to our big one then.
Okay, so Best Picture. We've got The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and Trial of the Chicago 7. A lot of those films in a lot of other categories as well. And obviously things like Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, we've mentioned quite a lot. Trial of the Chicago 7. In at least the categories we've covered, I think they've only come up one other time. Is that right?
Yeah, I think the screenplay, wasn't it?
Yeah, so... Yeah, I mean...
Oh, no, acting and supporting was... I think acting and supporting well, I'm not sure. Yeah, actually.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah...
but others have got their fair share of nominations. Trial of Chicago 7. Obviously, it's a film that you mentioned when you did talk about that BAFTA's disconnect and how certain films don't really get the, you know, especially from the streaming platforms, get the I guess the, what do you call it? I don't know, the attention that maybe they deserve. So yeah, interesting to see them fitting in at this point, though. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, yeah. So obviously, when we spoke way back about an hour ago, when we spoke about screenplay. Obviously, all 5 original screenplay nominees are in this category. So it's the first time that's happened in a long while. So those obviously being Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trials of Chicago 7. And so The Trials of Chicago 7 is an interesting one because it came out, I believe, middle or very kind of middle part of last year, I believe it came out. And it got a lot of hype, and rightfully so. It's the kind of film the Academy likes. But the problem is this year, the Academy likes all the films in this Best Picture nominee category, in the Best Picture category. And usually, yes, you have to assume. I know this sounds kind of obvious, like, you know, people watching going, more is the like the films, but yeah, that's not always the case. Like we've touched upon, you know, Black Panther got its kind of sympathy nominee a few years ago in that category. They sometimes will pick if a film has had a really good acting performance, even if just one good acting performance, they go, right, that's the Best Picture nominee. You know, so it's not always the case. But these films, I mean, I touch upon, like, you know, just to touch upon, like, these films really, I think, speak to the year that we've just had. In many, many, many ways. The Father is a very intimate film looking at family relationships. Obviously, family is something which, obviously, the past year we've all had to think about and look at very closely. As our bubble, our circle, wherever we are, has gotten smaller, you know, in this. And so it's looking at, and especially that relationship with the elderly family members. And, you know, it's very tough because you know, when you talking about your elderly family members, you're talking about, you know, people who, you know, when you was a kid, they probably changed your nappy. You know, they probably took you to school, you know, and you know, help you do your homework, kicked a ball around you, you know, in the back garden or whatever. And
it's that switch of vulnerability,
and it deals with very, very difficult. Judas and the Black Messiah, again, the race wars. Enough said, really. For
lots happened this year. Yeah,
Mank is glorifying Hollywood, but from an alternative perspective. It's making you look differently at what we already know, and that's literally what 2020 was. It was like, here was your life before. Look at it completely differently now. And that's Mank for you. You've got Nomadland, which obviously focused on people who are looking for direction in their lives. You know, Promising Woman dealing with obviously the you know, the Me Too stuff, and you know, women's attitude towards women and stuff. So it's all very, very, you know, Trials of Chicago 7 looking at you know, the police system over in America. So again, like all films that the past year, we've all had to be like, we've been thinking about them non-stop.
Strange as well, because obviously all of these films were commissioned and produced and you know, everything like that. Obviously a lot of these things have been bubbling up in society, but like I say, this year has been a huge focus for a lot of those topics, and it's strange that they've kind of hit at this point of a year, like you say, where we have this kind of reflection on all those things.
Yeah, no, I think it's very thing. I know even like Sound of Metal, to be fair, obviously dealing with obviously lack of communication. You know, again, communication has been very key for. So we've mentioned this channel before. Like, I've never physically met Scott, but obviously because of the communication we've got, you know, through obviously, you know, technology, we're able to obviously speak and become like, you know, quite good friends with this. So it's like a case of like, you know, this past year, everyone's been through this, in fact, and obviously, you know, losing that communication with someone, you know, has been, you know, or maintaining the communication with someone has been crucial and integral to many people's, you know, the year.
Yeah.
But look, here's where we're at. We're at the fact where the winner of this is going to be Nomadland. It won the BAFTA, it won the Golden Globe, you know, directing as well, it's won that too. And the link is almost always there, where the film that wins Best Director wins Best Picture. And it kind of has to be, because it's like, how can you direct something how can you be the best director at something, but the film didn't win?
Like your efforts were good. But the cake you made didn't taste all that. It looked nice, but
and it's really frustrating here because I'm trying to look back actually, and obviously I haven't added up everything, you know, but you know, Mank obviously, which is the top nominated film, I feel it may go away empty-handed.
Wow.
I think the biggest chance for it really is probably in the cinematography and production design, I guess. As obviously there is a lot of good with that in the film. But yeah, I don't see it winning Best Picture. And because it's really hard, this, because Minari is such a talking point. I mean, obviously, just flicking on the red carpet show every now and again, they did give a lot of time to the stars of that film. I was only obviously looking at it obviously while we're here as well, but they did give a lot of time to those stars. And
to go away empty-handed would be very strange. But I mean, doing your picks of who you think and who you like. Not once have you said anything to do with Mank. So
yeah, I think it might be biased because it's not my type of film. But
right.
I have to state here that I am looking at the films as the films and looking at kind of what I think will happen. Regardless of that, I guess the one that I was obviously most biased with was Love and Monster. I literally just watched that film, but I didn't have to pick it in that category that we picked. But in terms of this, it's a case of it's just my pick here is just based on the directing pick, and because the directing pick is Chloe Zhao, I think she will also win Best Picture. But then obviously, like I said, if directing was to go to David Fincher for Mank, or to Lee Isaac Chung for Minari,
bring the whole thing.
Could we be looking at a Best Picture, award for them? Or do they completely go the other way and do it separately? Award Best Director to Chloe Zhao, but give Best Picture to another film.
Right.
I will say that I don't expect it to be Trial of Chicago 7 or Judas and Black Messiah or The Father, with respect. Promising Woman, I really, really love. I really love this film. But like I said, I think the Carey Mulligan winning Best Actress will be that film's moment. And who I would like to win, to be fair, I'd be happy with, again, I haven't seen The Father, but I do feel this will be a film that I will really enjoy once it does, obviously,
once you can see it.
Once I can legally see it, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good selection, to be fair, from this. And obviously, hopefully, Nomadland, by the way, is dropping on Disney Plus the week off the awards. So this Friday, this Friday coming up. Chloe Zhao, by the way, she's currently on the red carpet with the stars of Nomadland. Obviously, big campaign, from her and her team, this year, and obviously it paid off so far. She'll be needing a new cabinet soon, I'm guessing, for all these awards she's picking up. But yeah, Chloe Zhao, she kind of ticks a lot of boxes as well for obviously what the Academy are after with diversity, being a Chinese woman, which definitely helps. But yeah, is that Viola Davis? No, it's Viola Davis. Yeah. Viola Davis, they've cut screen to her. She's wearing a really nice dress, to be fair. We're now turning to E. I love it.
We are the fashion experts over here, boy.
It's a really nice dress. I mean, quite revealing, a little revealing, but yeah. But yeah, Viola Davis, she is obviously nominated in Best Actress, but yeah, Best Picture, I feel, it's going to be Nomadland. I guess, if we want to go for the shock one, I guess would be, to be fair, would be any of the others winning, to be fair, I'd say at this point. But Minari is the one where you can't really rule out because it's got such a steam to it going now. And if obviously it was to win for screenplay, it's the thing. If it was to,
like you said earlier, if it's kind of a consolation prize or,
This is the thing. It just depends how they see it. But Nomadland has a lot going for it, as it, its production has been such a kind of focus of this and how it's been done. Obviously, if it's the thing again. Even though I did pick Carey Mulligan to win for actress in the leading role, if obviously Nomadland was to pick this up and Frances McDormand picks up the Oscar there, she's won for producing a film and for being in it, which is, I think that's probably the highest honour you could imagine.
Surely. Yeah.
If you're going to be in a film and do it, and obviously the productions of that, she was very hands-on, in getting this film made, and it's very much an American film. But this is where, again, does the Academy, take that bias? It has done in previous years. And again, having not seen the film, I really want to see the film. And obviously, once I do see the film, I will be talking about. I guess again, if it does win for Best Picture, to be fair, we'll be talking about it quite a lot on that edition, film and stuff. But I think if Nomadland, they are just going to make it win, because it fits their kind of thing this year. It's just not knowing how the audience will receive it. That's the thing, because it's had limited release, obviously in the States, not been released over here yet. But yeah, we shall see. But yeah, I think Nomadland. Nomadland.
Okay. And what would you like? You were kind of saying Promising Young Woman. You would, but is that your final answer?
I'm still going to say that, just on the basis that I like this kind of story of it being her first feature film. She's quite funny as well, Emerald Fennell. She's quite funny. She's quite, in terms of the ceremony as well, again, these things go on forever. Last year's was the tied longest of all time.
That's coming from someone that stays up for WrestleMania.
It was over 4 hours long last year.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, obviously, with the measures in place, it will be a bit shorter, and obviously without not having a crowd and stuff. But then saying that, I thought getting rid of the host would make it shorter, and that didn't make it shorter.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think, Promising Woman. I think that she's just a funny person. She's written a good film, and it could be a nice kind of end to the night. But I don't see it in terms of the ceremony. Like I said, it's Steven Soderbergh, producing this ceremony. Obviously, Academy Award winner for Erin Brockovich. Very good director, and he's promised us a kind of cinematic feel to it, which I know you're scared of, probably from the wrestling channel.
That word gives me nightmares these days. But I mean, obviously we've touched on it throughout the night, but this year's got to be different. They've got to do something. So it's very interesting. Like you said, even talking about like using certain language and stuff in speeches, I'm interested to see how that goes down. Like, I don't know why that would be necessary, but is that going to create more of a disconnect, like you were talking before? Is that going to make us feel like, what are you on about? So I don't know. It's going to be a weird one, but I mean, has there been an Oscars like this in recent years that people have been so excited for, because everyone's like, what is going on? Not just in the awards, like the presentation, how it's going to look, how it's going to feel, So because obviously we're a year away from everything really kicking off, but it's still obviously, as we've touched on it a few times, wrestling at WrestleMania, a year on, it looked very different, and the Oscars are going to be the same. The BAFTAs had a completely different feel. Again, Lucas touched on that on the Screen One channel, but I think it's gonna. Oh, we've got a little ad on Sky now for Promising Young Woman as well, so they're clearly pushing it. And, so. It's going to be an interesting one. Before we get out of it, Lucas, I do want to ask you one question. You might see it slightly in the corner here. And I'm asking you, what is the water cooler conversation tomorrow? What's the biggest topic? That's right, I've got water coolers sitting right there.
You wouldn't be winning Best Director for that, Scott. I can tell you.
Hey, I don't know, props. I don't know, but what is the water cooler conversation tomorrow, mate? What do you think the big shocker is going to be that everybody's going to be talking about?
So the big shock that I predicted was Karen Mulligan winning for Promising Young Woman. I feel that is, like I said, that's the kind of we're trying to be young kind of thing. But I wouldn't rule out Minari having some impact here, whether it was to win Best Picture, for screenplay, or even for directing. I think just any kind of performance that's able to break that mold, like we've seen. There's so many that they won the Golden Globe, they won the BAFTA, so it's like, like I said, that sticker book, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
The Oscars at the end, right? But any kind of person who breaks that mold, I think definitely that's where you're like, oh wait,
Yeah.
I think also there'd be, I think the main talking point really, the walk of the moment will be, the talk of the ceremony itself. How it looked. Did Steven Soderbergh's direction work? I think it's that, and I think the film people will be talking about is Nomadland, because I think even if it doesn't, if Chloe Zhao doesn't win Best Director, and the film that doesn't win Best Picture,
it's going to be a talking point.
The Golden Globe and BAFTA thinking them. So that's again, whether it wins or not becomes talking point, because if it wins, fantastic, because again, it's a female-led film. It's got Frances McDormand obviously is part of the in a production for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, whether it wins or loses, it's still a talking point really. And I think like people will be looking at the fact that potentially Mank could go home empty-handed. And how would Netflix then? I don't know. How Netflix would kind of spin that again. It's still Academy Award nominated, but it went home completely.
Yeah, especially like you say, to be nominated for so much as well.
Yeah,
it would be a shock.
Quite a while. I think next nominations after that is 6. But yeah, I think the other thing is people will question some of these, if you're a new viewer to the Academy Awards this year, and I do encourage people to give it a watch and to see what's about. You might have the same question we had, like, why isn't there no lead actor in Judas and Black Messiah? How can you have, essentially that's like saying, in Star Wars, where you got Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, like, they're essentially still, leads of that ensemble.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, it's the Academy. It's like, no, you're both supporting. So
I do think surely it is to maybe, I don't know how many people they can fit in the main, leading role sort of thing. And if you put them both in supporting, maybe there were less people they wanted to put in that category. It could just be down to moving from this column to the other, because it is a really strange thing. Like you said, if they're both considered on equal level, then why are they not both considered the leading role? Why are they both considered the support? Because then, very, very strange, man. But like I said, they make up the rules, so
yeah, they can do as they please. But yeah, look, I will be giving a kind of reactions thing to this tomorrow. That'll be over on the Rebellious Noise Screen 1 channel. But don't forget, you like, share, and subscribe, all that content on there. I do a series called Film You In, where I give you information on the goings on in film, television, and obviously streaming as we get on. I've done several different ones on award ceremonies too, including the BAFTAs and the Golden Globes. And as we get kind of closer towards Emmy season, I'm sure I'll pick those up too. But look, guys, let's enjoy the Academy Awards that are going to be taking place very, very soon.
Very soon,
yeah, very, very soon. And let us know your thoughts, obviously, afterwards. And let's see, are we going to be talking about Nomadland, tomorrow for good or bad reasons? Or are we talking about other films? But let us know what you think. Until then, I've been Lucas.
And I've been Scott. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Please subscribe again. This is the main Rebellious Noise channel, but we do have, as Lucas rightfully talks about right there, the Screen 1 channel as well. If you're all about the film and TV, then you'll find more of our content, and especially from this guy right there, Lucas. There we go. Where is he? That side. Oh, Lucas, before we get out of it, what's your thoughts on popcorn? Right? Do you like popcorn, first of all? I didn't think I'd have to. You love it, right? Yeah. Okay. Because there are some. I've met people in recent years that don't even like popcorn at all. Like, what the heck is that about? What's that about? So, if you do like it, what's your preference?
Salted always.
So, when I was a kid, it was sweet. It had to be sweet. But as I got older, I got a thing for that salt. So now I'm a mixture. Salt and sweet. I'm a salt and sweet kind of guy.
Always salt.
Always salt. Never been a sweet guy. Never.
No, always been salt.
What about toffee? Oh, you get some really weird ones these days.
Yeah, you do. You get like a lot of the cinemas now, especially like the kind of posh ones, market ones. They sell obviously gourmet popcorn, don't they? So you can get popcorn in all sorts of different flavors and that. And
have you had the ones with chocolate on? That's quite nice to be fair.
Yeah, they're quite nice. But then it's just like, for me, it's a bit like how much you add to something before it becomes not the thing.
Before it's not originally. It. Yeah, mate. I'm the same with a pizza. Don't put barbecue sauce on a pizza. It needs cheese, tomato sauce, and base. That's a pizza. The toppings you can change around. Pineapple is an argument, but barbecue sauce is not for me. But anyway, we are going off on a tangent. And if you like that kind of stuff, check out our other channels. We've got a football channel. We've got a music channel. We've got a film and TV channel, obviously Screen One, which this has been brought to you by. And we've got a food channel, Our Own Taste, as well. So check out more of our content. Stay right here on the main Rebellious Noise channel if you like all that stuff. And please subscribe. And like I said, like Lucas said, he'll be back this week talking more about the Oscars on RN Screen One. So again, subscribe here, but the link is in the description to subscribe to our dedicated film and TV channel, Screen One. Anyway, Lucas, thank you very much for coming on. It's been good. And hey, everyone, enjoy the Oscars, no matter who wins. I'm sure it'll be fun.
Tickets, please. Once you have subscribed to this channel, please make your way into Screen One for all things film and TV from Rebellious Noise. Screenings will include exclusive interviews, fun reviews, and in-depth features, as well as the latest news from the big and small screen. So grab yourself a bag of popcorn, sit back, relax, and enjoy the shows.